What's up, everyone? It is the 9th day of Christmas, or the 9th day for the 12 days of Yu-Gi-Oh! And in today's video, we'll be doing the Fortune Fairies. Now, Fortune Fairies is a very kind of unique deck that kind of has a bit of a ruling issue. Maybe not so much a ruling issue, but more so that it missed the timing quite a lot, making this deck really hard to kind of build, because it's a big gamble deck. Since the Fortune Fairies all have effects to basically whenever they draw them, they special summon themselves. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. I run 3 Fortune Fairy Hikari. Like I was saying earlier, when you draw this card, you can reveal it, special summon it from your hand. All the Fortune Fairies have this effect, and the one downside to that is that you cannot do this for your draw phase. And when you draw, like let's say you activate Pot of Desires and you draw 2 of them, or 2 Fortune Fairies, you can only activate 1 of the Fortune Fairies rather than both. So basically, it's really all reliant on your draw cards. It may work, it may not. Now, Hikari, if it is special summoned from the hand, you target 1 monster you control, send it to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon 1 level 1 spellcaster monster from your deck. So basically, you can get yourself another Hikari if you want. I run the 3 Fortune Fairy N. I run 3 of all the Fortune Fairies. Now, N, when it is special summoned from the hand, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy it. It comes up occasionally. If you're going first, obviously it's not going to come up in the slightest, but if you're going second, it might be a little bit more useful. I run 3 Fortune Fairy Hue. Hue has an effect to where you can target 1 of your banished spellcaster monsters, add to your hand. I don't really use that effect at all, maybe just because it doesn't really get you much of any value. I also run 3 Fortune Fairy Sui. Now, Sui is a special summon from the hand. You can target 1 other face-up monster on the field, banish it until the standby phase of your next turn. And the one really cool thing about Sui is that can work on your opponent's field. It just says banish a card on the field. Or not really a card, but banish 1 other face-up monster on the field. I run the 3 Fortune Fairy Ann. Kind of goes with the Fortune Fairy Fortune Fairy Hue, to where you can banish the card, and this can basically add it back, but I don't really use that effect, so that effect is more so irrelevant. It's mainly just another Fortune Fairy that can special summon itself from the hand when you draw it by card effect. I run 3 Fortune Fairy Chi. I'd say Chi and Hikari are definitely the best Fortune Fairies. Well, now, Chi, when it's special summoned from the hand, both players can draw 1 card. And of course, if you draw into a Fortune Fairy monster, you can special summon. And if you draw into a Fortune Fairy monster, you can also special summon that one from your hand as well. Also run the 2 Chocolate Magician Girl. Chocolate Magician Girl has a once per turn to where you can discard 1 spellcaster type monster, draw 1 card. With the Fortune Fairies, rarely are you actually going to normal summon them. Only in the, worst case instances. That way you can use your normal summon for Chocolate Magician Girl and get an extra draw. Also run the Dark Magician and Red Eyes Black Dragon, because Dragoon's just that good, and really the focus of Fortune Fairies, or at least this Fortune Fairy build, is to kind of go into Dragoon. More so because the Fortune Fairies, they have some neat little effects, but nothing that really does anything to really harm your opponent too much. Sui's nice, it can banish a card, but that's only going to happen on your turn. Moving on to spells, since we do run spellcasters, I run 3 Secret Village of the spellcasters. The one really cool thing with the Secret Village is that Dragoon is also a spellcaster, so it works perfectly well under Secret Village. Secret Village, if you control a spellcaster monster, your opponent cannot activate spell cards. So basically, it just locks your opponent out of activating spell cards, and against some decks, that is going to be very good. Like, let's say you're going against Sky Strikers, that will just completely make the deck. Sky Strikers just can't even play at that point. I run 3 Magical Mallets, as well as the 2 Reload. Magical Mallet, shuffle any number of cards back into your hand, draw the same amount, and Reload is shuffle your entire hand back into the deck to draw the same amount. While yes, these cards are technically like neg once and all that, although I'm not really a person who really cares about cards neg, as long as it's good and helps out, it works. You really have to run cards like Magical Mallet and Reload, because let's say you're opening hand, you're going first. What are you going to do? The Fortune Fairies will just be dead in your hand because draw phase doesn't count. So basically, you use Magical Mallet, shuffle all of them. If you draw 2 Fortune Fairies, you can special summon 1 of them. Same with Reload. And Reload and Magical Mallet don't have once per turns on them, so you can use them as much as you want. I also run 3 Wonder Wand. Wonder Wand, you can equip it to a spellcaster monster, gains 500 attack, and if you control the equipped monster on this card, you can send both to the graveyard to draw 2 cards. Again, just more draw power to help get off the effects of the Fortune Fairies. Also run 1 Card Destruction. Again, just another card that can draw cards. as well as a Monster Reborn, and obviously the Red Eyes Fusion to round up the spells. Moving on to the traps, I actually run 3 Soul Drain. Now I was thinking about, earlier in when I was testing around with this deck, I did notice one problem. This was the best you could really do. Go into Dragoon and activate Secret Village. Not bad, but if your opponent can get past Dragoon, then you're going to be pretty stuck. That's why I run Soul Drain. I wanted to put in some more traps that just really make an impact. Soul Drain definitely does if your opponent is playing any more sort of Grave Reliant deck, like if they're playing Charge Brigade, for example. Now I'll shut that down real quick. I also run the 2 Ice Dragons Prison. I definitely say it's one of the best traps. Obviously, you could argue that Infinite Permanence and Evenly Patched are more powerful, and I would kind of agree. But in this kind of scenario, I'd rather run the Ice Dragon's Prison, more so just because it can really disrupt your opponent's plays. Moving on to the extra deck. I obviously run the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. I run 2 Salamangreat Almirage, just in case things get kind of desperate. Let's say you don't really have any way to sort of summon or do any sort of drawing with your Fortune Fairies. You can also summon a Fortune Fairy, link away into Almirage, and if you have some way to bring back that Fortune Fairy that you linked away, like let's say you got a Monster Reborn, then you can still go into Birthday Anaconda and then into the Dragoon. I also run the 1 Link Rebo. We do run little ones, and Link Rebo's still just a good Link 1 monster. Barricade Board blocker in case they get rid of your Soul Drain or your Secret Village. The 1 Birthday Anaconda, obviously for Dragoon. The 1 Nightmare Phoenix and the 1 Nightmare Unicorn. Just good cards. I run an Apollosa, Access Code, and a Starter uses Skull Dread to round out the links. I also run 1 Sylvan Princess Sprite. Princess Sprite is pretty cool. It's a level 1 monster. Obviously, you can use 2 Hikari for it. You detach 1 XYZ material from this card, activate the top card of your deck, and if it is a spell card, add to your hand. Otherwise, send it to the graveyard. That can be very interesting in certain scenarios, and that might be a good option to go for if you're going second. Obviously, you can use it to go into Zeus, although that really depends on you having Hikari. I also run the 1 Assemble Nightingale. Nightingale doesn't just work with Lairless monsters. It can just work with any level 1, any deck that can bring out a rank 1 XYZ monster. Nightingale has the cool effect where it can attack directly, so basically you just attack directly, go in down position, go into Zeus, and you got a pretty good boss monster. That's it for my Fortune Fairies. What do you think? Fortune Fairy is pretty cool. And tomorrow we will be doing Grado for the 10th day of Yu-Gi-Oh! I'll see you in the next video. Bye.